whom he was friendly with, and whom he had accompanied on a visit to the Crossrail Sheffield, but at which Network Rail refused to refund his expenses, amounting to some £57. On his redundancy, Network Rail at first refused any job references, but and in fact refused to pay him any redundancy, or delayed his redundancy. But after 2 months, they paid all the money that he was due, and after 5 months, they gave him simply a 2-line reference stating the dates on which he had started work for Network Rail and finished work. During the time he was applying to the Employment Tribunal Service, this was as an individual, but as mentioned earlier, there was no legal aid available. He asked Nick Baverstock to act as a friend, but he declined. He also asked Andrew Wiley, the regional director, Andrew Wiley. He wrote to Andrew Wiley, but got no response, and also wrote to Helen Samuel, who declined to help him. As a result, he resigned his memberships of the various ICE committees which he belonged to, and applied to the Benevolent Fund for help on the Back to Work scheme, having been out of work for over three months. He met the external consultant to the Benevolent Fund at a hotel in Dartford, who advised hard copy applications and not to use emails in his applications, but was otherwise not very satisfied with either the knowledge or the nature of the help that he was provided. For 10 months he's been living on his savings, and he applied for job seekers allowance, but that was valid for 6 months only, and was not really applicable for directors of limited companies, of which he is one, although they have not claimed any reimbursement of the money he has already been paid. He applied for universal credit, and after a 5-week pause, he's been paid some money from them. DG is married and has children and grandchildren, but he and his wife Shirley separated in 2009 over differences in their lifestyle. I'm not sure when they did separate, where his wife moved to, but for the past 2 years she's been living in the house that was previously owned by DG's mother, who died 2 years ago. At the moment, he owns half of his present house with his wife and owns fully the other one. He's applied for jobs. He has made over 600 applications for jobs, and as a result has had 3 interviews, one with HS2, Balfour Beatty and Vinci Ferrovial. But because But because these all involve Network Rail work, Network Rail have rejected that DG work on any Network Rail jobs. He's written to Andrew McNaughton, who is the head of HS2, but he has either had no reply or just an acknowledgement, but no positive response. In April 2020, he expects a response to his appeal, to his claim for compensation amounted to £680,000. If he gets a job in the meantime, any compensation he receives will be adjusted for his new earnings. He's therefore faced with getting a job, living again with his wife, although not as a man and wife, and regularising his separation. Separately, he has a Polish girlfriend whom he hasn't seen for a year, but who accompanied him to a function at the ICE 200 at Buckingham Palace, at which he had a severe problem with his bladder, which led to his prostatectomy, and caused him a great deal of distress, which was put right as a result of an operation paid for by Network Rail's private insurance, medical insurance. The two houses in which he either owns or has a half share have no mortgage on them, as he used his redundancy payment to pay off the mortgage on both of them. His needs for both providing support for himself and his wife amount to somewhere between £1,500 and £2,000 a month. If he sold his present house, or put it out for rent, he would expect to gain about £800 a month. With his pension, he expects to get about £1,700 a month. If he were to start. One alternative, as mentioned, is that he might live again with his wife in a landlord-lodger relationship. They originally separated because of his frustration with her eating habits and being overweight, but they are still friendly and have Sunday lunch with their children and their grandchildren most weekends. His wife is vulnerable to has type 1 diabetes, and her family has a history of type 2 diabetes, which involved severe operations of his wife's father.